have the CEO of All On, an organization working actively in Nigeria to cover the energy gap in the nation, with a focus on indigenous energy companies and providing support to the local businesses in Nigeria.
So All On, the organization I run, is a $200 million fund set up by Shell to address the energy access gap in Nigeria. So Nigeria has 4,000 megawatts for 200 million people, which is basically 196,000 megawatts short of what we actually need. So the energy access gap is absolutely enormous. There's over 100 million people totally off the grid. There's another 40 to 50 million people with less than 4 hours of power a day. So it's a huge gap. And so what our fund is doing is to invest in companies that are coming up with innovative solutions to provide clean, affordable, and reliable energy sources to particularly low-income households and small businesses. And one of the priorities that we focus on is actually investing in Nigerian businesses. So of our 50 or so investees, 40 of them are fully indigenous, Nigerian-owned and operated and founded businesses that are really pursuing homegrown solutions to this massive problem in Nigeria.
There has been a situation where it's been observed that there is very little investment in the solar plant setting up of such. You actually have been able to do that yourselves, but the question is, do you feel or do you agree with that line of thought that there is very few African countries investing in setting up these plants that come up with renewable energy, and what could be the reason for that?
Yeah, no, it is a major problem. I mean, if we're trying to close the energy access gap in Nigeria or across Africa, and we're doing it with solar particularly, and almost all of the solar equipment is coming from outside Africa, it means that the billions of dollars being invested are actually leaving the continent. One of our investees, it's a company called Greenidge in Enugu, Nigeria. They make inverters. They manufacture them there. And the challenge that their CEO said to me, he said, Wiebe, All On is supposed to be developing Nigeria, but 90% of your funds go to China. Yeah. And it actually really hit me. And so it made me realize that the investment we've done in Oxano, which is the company that is the largest local manufacturer of solar panels in Nigeria, and I think West Africa, and in Greenidge, this company, that those are incredibly important to make the ecosystem work, especially now with supply chain disruptions that have come out of the pandemic and afterwards. But also just simply, we can't build an entire industry where everything that goes into the industry has to be imported. So I do call on other investors to join us, because it is unfortunate that very few other investors or even donors are looking at that space of localizing the supply chains and manufacturing as much of the equipment as possible in Nigeria and other parts of Africa.
Yeah. There seems to be an opportunity here, looking at that gap, and of course understanding or not being blind to the fact that a huge population is actually relying on alternative sources of energy outside what you've termed as traditional old grid systems. You're in the sector, and you're calling on others to actually also invest in here. Why do you think, regardless or despite the fact that there's this opportunity from a face value, why is there that shyness in jumping into this sector? What is causing this?
So you mean the sector generally or the manufacturing part of it?
The sector generally.
Okay. Well, there is actually a lot of capital in this sector. I would say $1 billion or more is out there ready to be invested. The problem is it's not always the right kind of capital, right? So in Nigeria, for example, there aren't that many renewable energy companies that are at the kind of scale that some of the big development finance institutions or some of the bigger investors can write the $10, $20, $30 million check they like to write. And so what we've done in the 5 years of All On is we've actually said, okay, let's start building that pipeline. And so we actually invest all the way at the ideation stage. That's when it may not even have a business name. It's just a young entrepreneur with an idea. At the angel stage, we invest again. That's, you have a concept, you have a product, but you need that little bit of capital to kind of try it out and get it moving. And then at the growth stage, where it gets up to $3 to $5 million investments. And the portfolio we have now, within a year or two, maybe 3 years, many of our companies will now be ready for that kind of $10, $20, $30 million investment. So I think it goes both ways. You both need to have the investable opportunities, and you have to have the right kind of capital at the right time in the growth of those companies.